Hello, Mickey. I don't see anything. It's all black that you're in. Oh, we have music.
You know, on Russian TV, when Brezhnev dies or something bad happens,
They play, what is that, Tchaikovsky or something?
somber classical music.
No. Okay.
And is that a good day for Mickey?
No, I think you've opened a pro. Oh, and you're dressed in black. It's like you're mourning. Wait, is that Wagner? Is that Wagner? Is this, that's what Steve Bannon would have chosen. Is that what you chose?
It looks like it's Barber.
Oh, is that Adagio for strings?
Yes, but it might be Tchaikovsky.
It could be Barber. It sounds familiar. Listen, Mickey, I just wanted to send my condolences.
Well, it's pretty grim. I mean, as we start recording, it looks like the Republicans are going to gain the House, but it's not a sure thing.
Good.
John King did a thing on CNN about the 4 seats that Democrats would have to win, including Lauren Boebert's in Colorado. And it's possible, but the odds are against it. Likewise, the odds are against the Republicans winning the Senate. It depends on the Blake Masters race, which this guy, Dave Wasserman, who works for Cook, has declared Mark Kelly, the Democratic incumbent, the winner. And you think, who the fuck elected this guy? God, how does he get to decide who's the winner? They're going to be counting ballots until next week. There are 250,000 ballots out. The AP hasn't called it.
Wait, don't be bitter. Don't be bitter. Wait, who called it? Who called it? Who are you bitter about? Who called it?
The guy at Cook Political Report, who's been wrong before.
He's a fucking professional prognosticator. This is what he does.
He's been wrong before, and I just got a fundraising email from Mark Kelly saying, it's too close to call. Send me money. And so
they have differing incentive structures. But geez, when you start getting bitter about pundits projecting the outcome, Mickey, you need more than black clothes and classical music. You need therapy.
I know. I may need drugs, but the pro Masters people seem to have accepted this, a lot of them. So I guess Masters is going to lose, but you don't know for sure.
Well, there's a 5 percentage point gap, and they've got less than 20% to.
I don't think it's a 5%. He's 100,000 votes behind, and
no, he's down by 5%. He's down by 5 percentage points, right?
Well, it's a votes question at this point. I don't know what the percentage points are, but he has to make up out of less than 500,000. He has to make up 100,000 votes, which is very hard to do.
I mean, why aren't you focusing your hopes on Nevada and Georgia? They seem better.
Nevada is a better. Well, if Nevada is a better bet. Yeah. There we have the Democrat Cortez Masto against the Republican Laxalt, who's ahead, but is slowly losing ground to the Democrat. Yeah. And people like John Ralston, who is the sage of Nevada, seem to think that Mastro will catch him. And people say, well, Ralston is biased. He hates Laxalt, but he also knows his stuff. So
Mickey,
that's a long shot. That's a long shot too, which means that Georgia is irrelevant in terms of control of the Senate. The Republicans will not have gotten it. And Georgia just determines whether the Democrats will be +1, the +1 being what will get rid of Joe Manchin. They won't have to worry about Joe Manchin holding things up anymore. So that's a big win for the Democrats if they win that.
Listen, I have 3 words, Mickey, and I mean them very sincerely. Thoughts and prayers. Thoughts and prayers. I feel so bad for you, man. Hey, but listen, I've got good news and bad news, okay? Want to hear good news and bad news? I followed the betting markets. For once, I got to see them actually swing in my favor as election night progressed. They started out giving the Democrats a 30% chance of holding the Senate. Now, the bad news for you is that, by the next day, that was up at like 80%. Now it's over 95%. These people pay close attention.
Why do we care about percentages when we have actual votes. I hate.
We don't
I hate
have the votes yet. We don't have the votes yet, and these people.
But you know the contours of the votes. We know how many votes are out. We know how many votes they're behind.
Mickey, these people. There's big money on the line. They are paying people to pay very close attention to what's happening with votes coming in Nevada. Now, the good news for you is that they say there's more than a 95% chance of the Republicans retaining the House.
You're the last neoliberal. You believe in markets and don't want to fuck around with markets.
Speaking of which, are you ready to apologize to Nate Silver? You accused him of excluding polls he shouldn't exclude just to give the Democrats hope. Well, it seems like, if anything, he should have excluded more right-leaning polls.
Nate Silver came off smelling pretty good, and this poll business did not seem to pan out. Neither did really the poll.
What do you mean polls. The poll business?
Well, each side accused each other of the RCP, and Nate Silver accused each other of including too many polls that favored their side, but their generic results were sort of the same. And in individual races, probably Nate Silver turned out better than RCP.
Yeah, no, he won that argument pretty clearly. RCP is on balance, selects right-leaning polls that were misleading, and he excludes them.
Where did a poll mislead?
Well, I mean, RCP's projections were further from being accurate than his. That was the word online.
RCP projected the Republicans would be up 3. Yes, you're right.
Well, anyway.
Okay. But the key point is, not a key point, but a key point is Republicans won, in previous iterations, the Democrats have won more votes and gotten fewer seats. So there's been a lot of complaints. Well, if you add up all the popular votes, the Democrats won 4% more than Republicans. Well, this time it's flipped. Republicans won 4 or maybe 5% or maybe 3% more votes than the Democrats, yet they're going to end up with comparatively an incommensurate result in the Congress, certainly in the Senate. And so a lot of the generic ballot was sort of accurate. It said that Republicans are up 3 and the Republicans are up 3. They just votes are badly distributed so that they didn't win that many seats. That's the problem. But so and Nate Silver and RCP were sort of at the same point in that projection, and it was right. So the polls were basically right. One of the big takeaways is that this idea that there were all sorts of hidden Republican votes out there that the polls didn't catch because the Trump voters were too ornery to answer pollsters' questions. That seems to have disappeared. Mm-hmm. We don't know if that means that that they faded in the stretch and stayed home, or more likely they were never there. Look,
I've got 2 more ways to cheer you up. Okay, reminder: the election denier you vociferously support, J.D. Vance, won. You congratulated him online.
He's not such an election denier.
Has he acknowledged the legitimacy of the Biden presidency? Has he said, yes, he was legitimately elected? Easy sentence to utter. I just did.
I actually don't know what he said, but
he has not said that. But the New York Times, which sometimes gets things wrong, called him within the last 2 days an election denier. I assume they've at least scanned, they at least know that he hasn't affirmed.
The Washington Post classifies as an election denier anybody who wants an inquiry into the election, how the election was conducted.
This was the New York Times.
I know, but the election denier has been stretched. It's like genocide, Bob. It's been stretched way beyond the common sense bounds.
Well, I don't want to have a long argument about this, but I would say in the current political climate, if you go around saying, yes, there should be an inquiry, and no, I will not acknowledge Biden's legitimacy, you are being so irresponsible. I think it's bad for the country for you to be in the Senate. That's the environment we're in.
I think what he says is the deck was stacked against Trump. The media was against him. There were all these conspiracies against him. He doesn't say, J.D. Vance does not say the votes weren't counted accurately. And that
every sane human knows that Biden was elected legitimately in the standard sense of the word. That is in compliance with the law. Everybody in all the states checked the boxes, signed the documents. That's what we mean by legitimate. And there's no good reason. In fact, there's tons of evidence that there was not fraud sufficient to overturn the election. And J.D. Vance is smart enough to know that.
But I'm sure he does not say there was fraud sufficient to overturn the election. He just doesn't.
Well, he knows there wasn't. Why doesn't he say he knows that?
Because he doesn't want to.
Because he'll do anything for power.
This is actually a larger theme of, I think, what this podcast will be is part of the problems that the Trump people have, and that I have personally in my interactions with people, including you, is a reluctance to say the obvious on cue. So a classic example of that was Paul Pelosi gets his head bashed in, okay?
Mm-hmm.
The obvious thing you're supposed to say, which they should have said, is this is a horrible thing. I feel very sorry for Mr. Pelosi. I hope he recovers quickly. This should never happen. This person should be sent up the river for the rest of their lives, et cetera, et cetera. Instead, they skipped. I'm sure that many people felt that, but they skipped over that part to, in part because it's cliched, in part because it wouldn't help them, they didn't think, and skipped right over to the jokes about how he had lax security. And even Youngkin, who's supposed to be the new Mitt Romney, did that and offended a whole lot of people and actually had to write a personal note to Nancy Pelosi apologizing for this.
As he should.
And I find myself doing that all the time, you know.
Okay, but Mickey, I think this is a misdiagnosis. The problem wasn't that he skipped the thoughts and prayers part. Even if he had said that, if he jokes about it, he'd be in trouble. They're going to clip that and say you're an asshole, which he was. But he did apologize and he gets credit. It wasn't just that he didn't go through the ritual saying sorry about this. The ritual would have helped.
The ritual would have helped a lot.
No, the joke would have been all over social media in any event. It's just a really. Well, don't get me started.
Well, you can't live your life. You can't live your life never giving something that could be excerpted on social media.
You can live your life understanding the basic rules about when tragedy has befallen someone, what you're supposed to go.
You can wait
a
for
couple
a day.
days without
I guess
saying.
that's right. I guess you can wait for a day.
Geez, this was not a hard one. Now let's get to the important stuff. I mean, first of all, the war within the Republican Party and the war within the Democratic Party. I mean, I got to say, this DeSantis Trump thing could be very entertaining.
That's not the important stuff. The important stuff is who controls the Congress and what legislation they pass.
We don't know that.
And I know.
But why should we keep talking about that?
Because it's the obvious thing. We're supposed to be saying
But we can't say anything.
Well, that's my point. That one never wants to do that, and that's a mistake. The other, we can say that one of we can say right now that there will be no accountability for the Biden administration's, for example, its loss of control of the borders. There's not going to be any rethinking. Biden's not going to change his policy because he went ahead with the policy and didn't get punished for it. So there's no reason for him to change. There's no reason for him to even fire Mayorkas, and all the things that people on the anti-Biden side legitimately complain about are not going to be changed. And he's basically said that at his press conference, and I sort of believe him. I can't believe he's not going to make some moves to the center, but certainly on the border, he ain't going to change. So that's a huge impact for a policy that we can see right now, even though we don't know who's going to control the Congress.
Well, you know what you should tell him, and I want to emphasize this for my own reasons, is, okay, first of all, you did better than we thought, so the pressure for Biden to get off the ticket is going to be weakened, and that bothers me. I'll get back to that. But though it's true that Trump had a very bad night, I want to talk about that.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
Trumpism did not necessarily. DeSantis did very well, and somebody should point that out to Biden. I mean, if you want Biden to understand that this doesn't signify the disappearance of political pressure from the right on the immigration issue, that's what I'd tell him. DeSantis was a big winner.
Right. That's right. Biden's whole worldview depends on not recognizing the existence of people like DeSantis. In other words, he thinks they're either MAGA Trumpers or super MAGA Trumpers, and that attack seems to have worked, or they're conventional Republicans who he can work with in Congress, the way people used to work with Everett Dirksen, or the way he used to work with whoever. The people like Youngkin, who are Trumpist in policy terms, but aren't crazy MAGA ultra, crazy people, election deniers. He has to exclude them. He has to not recognize them. because they're the threat to him. So yes, you're right.
So what I would like to see is people, if you want to say what I just said, fine, and you're welcome for the talking point. Here's the way I would like to use the DeSantis victory is to say, okay, Biden didn't doom the ticket the way some people thought, and that strengthens his case for wanting to stay on the ticket. But it's looking like if he runs again, he's not going to be up against Trump. He's more likely to be up against DeSantis, at least more likely than we thought before. Now, imagine him on a podium with somebody as politically capable as DeSantis. I don't like DeSantis, but he's politically capable and effective. You imagine those two in a debate? Biden's toast. And that's after two more years of cognitive decline.
We said that Biden's toast in a lot of debates, including with Paul Ryan, and he came out okay. He is getting older and older. I mean, when he was younger, he could have, battled DeSantis to a draw.
I'll bet
you're assuming, you're assuming that the DeSantis will beat Trump for the nomination, and I do think now for the first time that it's possible, maybe even 50-50, that he can do that, because Trump is looking pretty pathetic with his attacking DeSantis right out of the box, even before the election. The most successful candidate of his party in this cycle, and he's out there attacking him. A lot of people hated that and resented that.
He attacked him before the election. Weirdly, the official,
that's
Trump,
what I just said.
The official, he anointed him with a nickname. That was the declaration of war. He started calling him Ron DeSanctimonious a couple of days before the election.
I keep thinking if I ran against Trump, Mickey Kaus. I wonder what Trump's nickname for me would be.
Can't imagine. I can't think of anything that rhymes with that.
Tough one. So yeah, I mean the one of the lessons of the election, my last process point, and then we can get to your substantive points, is every time you think you're going to win because the other side is not going to turn out, you're going to lose. I've been through this 4 cycles, and everybody said, "Oh, the Democrats aren't going to turn out because off-year elections they don't care as much. Trump's not on the ballot." Bullshit. The media and the party turn out their voters. That's not why they won. They won because they also won independence.
Just out of curiosity,
both sides turned out their voters.
Just out of curiosity, what if both sides think that in the same election? Do you enter some kind of quantum mechanical world or something?
No, they're both wrong. That's like Ukraine.
Nobody wins.
That's like Ukraine.
Out to be a non-zero-sum game.
Both sides of the Ukraine war think they're going to win too.
Well, war is a non-zero-sum game. Elections are not.
War is a non-zero-sum game. Tell that to the people of Kherson.
Well, I mean, war in the aggregate. Tell it to all the dead Ukrainians. Tell it to their parents. Tell it to all the dead Russians and their parents.
I mean, that's a less than zero game.
Well, among the political leaders, it can be a zero-sum game. But even certain kinds of wars, even for them, like nuclear war, aren't. Anyway, we digress.
Anyway, the other lesson of the election, which I think you were driving at, is people hate the Trump craziness. Okay, they want to be normal again. I don't mind that. I think that's a good impulse on the part of the voters.
Wait, I thought you liked it. I thought you wanted Trump to be.
I don't like the crazy. I like Trumpism without Trump.
No,
Trump
but I mean
the crazy part.
But when you said I don't mind that they don't like this part of Trump, I thought you wanted them to hate Trump and push him off stage. That's your line, right? You want Trump gone.
Right. So that's why I don't mind that they hit it.
Okay.
I don't understand. Where's the contradiction? Previously, I thought that it was a second order issue, the craziness. I would like Trump pushed off stage, but I didn't think the Meachimism attacks on the threat to democracy, et cetera, had any traction at all. Obviously, they had some traction. So that's actually not a bad, when you think about it, it's not such a bad thing that they have traction. That's my point.
Okay. So what can you project a little what lies in store with this DeSantis Trump war? I mean, this is like, Trump is saying he's got dirt on DeSantis. Do you take that seriously that he's going to reveal? Rupert Murdoch has now officially declared war on Trump, which
I haven't heard any dirt on DeSantis, so I take it half seriously. Murdoch's declared war on Trump before, of course.
Yeah.
Now he's declaring war with all his media organs.
Yeah, I think this is for real.
But I don't think his media organs have that much purchase with the Republican electorate. So
even Fox?
So that's not important. Well, that's a good question. Fox, that's one dynamic which you've just hit on. In the next few weeks, will the audience revolt against the Fox attack on Trump? It's happened before, and when that happens, Fox caves and the audience wins. So they'll try it, but Murdoch's smart enough; he's not going to destroy Fox on the.
Well, he's not going to make them overtly anti-Trump, but you can shade things in a systematic way.
They're pretty overtly now. I mean,
Fox is?
Fox tends to be pretty overt. They're not subtle.
I mean, I was thinking of the New York Post Humpty Dumpty thing, which was pretty unambiguous. No.
Yeah, they'll be more subtle than that, but not subtle.
Okay, so here's my question.
But I think they may have to drop them.
Here's a question you would know the answer to.
They start losing viewers.
Yeah. No, I agree. So here, if they start going to Newsmax, and some already have, I guess. So here's a question for you. If, as is not at all improbable, well, if DeSantis, if they go mano a mano, first of all, you think they are, right? Trump is going to announce at some point. He's now saying, his guy, Jason Miller is saying it's going to be after Georgia. He's going to announce.
He's going ahead. He's not delaying it. He's going ahead on the 15th.
Plus, really?
It looks like Georgia might not be that important.
Jason Miller advised him to wait.
Right, but that was immediately rejected.
Well, also, post-Georgia should be awkward for him because there's a pretty good chance Walker loses, and then he looks even stupider. Even Trump does. But
I'm sure he's thought of that.
Well, Jason Miller apparently had, and he says he advised Trump to wait until right after Georgia. But I digress.
Well,
here's
good
my
for
question.
Jason Miller, but he was overruled.
Here's my question. So they go mano a mano, him and DeSantis. Let's say DeSantis wins, gets the nomination. I think it's perfectly plausible. I'm curious if you agree. I mean, two questions. Do you agree that Trump could well refuse to kiss and make up and decide to blow up the whole place? A, and B, does Trump have enough in the way of firm cultish allegiance that he could definitely doom DeSantis in the general if he wanted to?
I think he will, and I think he does have enough. Yes, I think the Republicans may have to go through a cycle. Really, you want Kamala?
No, I don't want Kamala. Okay.
Okay. Well,
which leads to my plan.
Anyway, the Republicans may have to go through another cycle where they lose the presidency in order to get rid of Trump.
Okay.
So Trump will sabotage it. DeSantis will lose if he's the nominee. Some unnamed, some mediocre Democratic nominee to be named later will become president, and then the next time the Republicans have a shot.
Maybe.
Perhaps with DeSantis, he doesn't have to go away.
But it'll be too late for Trump. This is Trump's last shot, right?
I'm not so sure. That's
he's getting up there.
I was on a radio show the other day, and the guy said, "Well, what about after that?" And I said, "Gave your answer, but he has very good genes. He might last. So who knows?" But I just think he fades and fades and fades and slowly Stassinizes himself.
Now the question is, and I have the answer. How do we get
Never
Biden?
Ask a question if you don't know the answer.
How do we? I would have been an excellent lawyer. How do we get Biden off the ticket? Okay, it's going to be a lot harder now than it would.
That's going to be so much easier than getting rid of Trump.
Well, it's going to be hard because it would have been pretty easy if this had been a wipeout for the Democrats. You agree, right? It's going to be harder to get Biden off the ticket. We're not just waiting for it to happen now. We're assuming it may well not.
Biden is much more of a party man than Trump. If everybody gangs up on Biden and says, "Look, Joe, you really did great. You did relatively well in the midterms, they have to show somebody who could beat Trump. If Trump is the nominee, if Trump isn't the nominee, it's much easier to get rid of Biden because they could say, well, any of these guys can take DeSantis. But
I don't think we can wait.
Trump is Biden's white whale in that respect.
Mickey, we can't wait until we know who the nominee is.
Well, but it'll look like something. He doesn't have to decide for a couple of years.
Of course he does.
Doesn't have to decide.
In 2 years,
away.
the election will be over. I mean, come on.
You're right. It doesn't have to decide for a year. Well, doesn't decide for a few months.
No, but if we want to get
an hour and a half. Damn it.
If we want to get him and Kamala off the ticket, if we don't want her to replace him on the ticket, we need to start working now. And I'm trying to enlist your support, and I'm not succeeding. So,
no, you have my full support.
I had thought so. I had assumed as much. So here's another approach. I mean, you're imagining that people just go to him and say, you know, Joe, first of all, who's going to do that? That for me is hard to imagine. Who does that? They got to sell Jill on it, you know, because otherwise she'll always have the last word. This is I think another way to go is somebody credible announces they're challenging it.
Well, that's going to happen.
Well, is it? Who? I've got the perfect nominee.
AOC is going to nominate. Do it.
Yeah, but that's not credible enough.
We'll see if she gets 50% of the vote. It's credible.
I don't think she's going to announce. She's got a job and so on. No, I got the perfect person.
No, they all want to run for president, and she more than anybody.
No, you know who should announce, and this is going to sound crazy at first, but I'm going to convince you it's not. And it's certainly the person, it's a person who could plausibly do it. And that person is, and I'm not saying the person would get the nomination. This is just an icebreaker to start the conversation. That person is Tim Ryan. Think about it. Okay? He did lose the election, but he can say, look, Ohio is now super Trumpist, deep red. In fact, I did a lot better than the Democrat who ran for governor. I did about as well as you can hope. You know, the Democrats pulled the rug out from under him. I don't think they funded him, whereas J.D. Vance had your good friend Peter Thiel just throwing billions at him.
No, okay? J.D. Vance was hurting for money for most of the campaign.
He did get Thiel support, and the Democrats, I think, did not support Ryan.
He got Thiel support early, but then Mitch McConnell came in late to give him money. But for the whole middle of the campaign, he had very little money, and Ryan had a lot of money. Ryan had a lot of donations from around the country. Ryan had plenty of money. He didn't lack for money. Ryan ran a very good campaign, and he's an appealing candidate. He didn't seem presidential. He ran for president before, and he didn't seem presidential then.
These are downsides. These are downsides, I admit, but
he has this Buddhist black mark against him.
But unlike a lot of people who just lost an election, he can say, "Hey, I was a congressman for a long time. I've been there. I got a totally respectable resume." And what else has he got to do? So I'm not saying he's the guy who will replace
he might
Biden.
Run, but I don't think he does. I don't think he beats Biden. He's too similar to Biden.
I've said from the beginning, I'm not talking about a guy who can beat Biden. I'm talking about an icebreaker. Somebody starts the conversation.
I don't think he works as an icebreaker. There are plenty of other people who work better as icebreakers.
Like who? It ain't going to be AOC.
Gavin Newsom. He's worthless, but he's worth something as an icebreaker.
Here's my point. All of these like establishment people who are these people who could well wind up as the nominee are people who will be reluctant to become the icebreaker. That's what I mean.
Now, Gavin Newsom is itching to become the icebreaker. You're just wrong. Everything he says is designed to pick a fight to raise his national prominence. Why is he doing that? Because he wants to run for president, not just and do you think he'll meekly step aside for this 80-year-old man who wants to continue? No, he's not going to do that.
Well, somebody better hurry, because I don't want, we got to get Biden and Kamala off.
I just don't think it'll be that difficult. Kamala will be hard to get rid of. Biden will be easy to get rid of.
That's why you got to start early.
You think you have to? You think you have to do it sequentially? Get rid of Biden and then get rid of Kamala?
I got the whole thing planned out. I'm thinking about being the icebreaker myself. By the way,
why don't you do an Agnew and get rid of the vice president before you get rid of the president?
Excellent idea. Do you have any scandal we could use to drag her down?
I have that scandal, but it's not much of a scandal.
Is that Parrot Room?
It was in, yes. We only
it's been there, and it'll be there again, folks.
But it's not much of a scandal.
Patreon.com/Parrot Room.
I tried to peddle that scandal last week with little success. So
we can talk about this more in the Parrot Room. Should we talk a little about Elon or Ukraine or something?
There is a lot more to say, but
yeah, but I mean, there's the Parrot Room.
Yeah, and
we've been talking for half an hour.
Okay. Oh, okay. We can talk about Kirsten or Elon. Elon is good Parrot Room material because it will drive viewer little Mickey K insane because he's begged us not to talk about blue checks. And there's going to be a lot of talk about blue checks.
We can talk about gray checks. There's blue checks and gray checks, and apparently the gray checks are back.
What is a gray check?
A gray check is the blue check in disguise.
Well, I guess we should explain what a blue check is to people too.
Well, people know what a verified on Twitter is. It started out as a way to verify the identity of people who might be impersonated, and then they spread so widely that it became a status symbol, and Twitter was in charge of conferring them. And they confer actual algorithmic advantages, and that's why you and I are bitter about not having them. Am I right?
Right.
Okay.
I'm not bitter about anything, Bob.
Neither am I, but
more mindful than that.
What we are bitter about. Now, okay, so here is
so the gray check is what?
Well,
you described the blue check. What's the gray check?
Let me read you 2 tweets by this Twitter person named Esther Crawford from about 3 days ago, before the pendulum swung a couple of times. But she writes, a lot of folks have asked about how you'll be able to distinguish between Twitter Blue subscribers, that is the $8 a month, Elon's whole innovation is now we're going to just sell verification. Twitter Blue subscribers with blue check marks and accounts that are verified as official, which is why we're introducing the, quote, official label to select accounts when we launch. Then
but is the official label the same as a gray check? That's what I don't understand.
I think so. She says,
I don't think so.
Not all previously verified accounts will get the official label, and the label is not available for purchase. But she says, accounts that will receive it include government accounts, commercial companies, business partners, major media outlets, publishers, and some public figures. So this, and then she says, she says more, but that sounds an awful lot like a return to the lords and peasants system.
Yes, it does.
Except with fewer lords, maybe. And so then, well, you tweeted Elon saying, I just killed it, meaning this, but apparently now it's back. I mean,
there are now 2 invidious distinctions where before there was only one. One is there's this gray check you're talking about if they deem you official, and I guess that means they actually verify you. And 2, in the blue checks, there's going to be a distinction between legacy blue checks, people who are notable, quote, right, notable enough to get the blue check first, and the $8 a month sort of just wannabes who will not if you click on their blue check, it will not say that they're legacy. It will say they purchased it. Okay, so now there are now 2 ways that Twitter can piss on you and say you're a peasant.
They can say, yes, you've got a blue check, but that's just because you paid for it.
But that's just one of these fake purchase blue checks, right?
So is that really still the plan? That now,
Musk. I mean, I think it's still the plan. Musk claims that he's going to switch to the non-legacy one himself. Although I notice he hasn't done it because it's a better deal somehow than the legacies get. But if the legacies pay their $8 and switch, that means they lower their status to it'll say, oh, this person just bought it. They're not going to do that. They're going to keep their they're going to keep their legacy status.
At one point, he was saying that their blue check was going to expire in 3 months. I mean, first he acted like it was going to die right away, and then he chickened out and said, oh, well, they'll get to keep it for 3 months. And I kept predicting he'll never have the nerve to take it away because they're too important to him. But so I think that is still officially the plan, but it's just such a jumble. And I mean, it's like his approach to change is like, just let's try here. I've got a half-baked idea. We're doing it. It's happening. We've just implemented it. And somebody says, this is stupid. And he goes, okay, we're changing it. I mean, he didn't build cars like this, right? He didn't say to engineers, you got 3 weeks to design a car, and they come up with something like, plywood and styrofoam, and he shows it to a consumer, and they go, this isn't a fucking car. And he goes, okay, you're right. We'll do something else.
I'm not sure that's not how he does it, but
well, it isn't though.
Build a self-driving car, then 5 people get killed. And, let's redesign the self-driving car.
No, there is some of that, but I mean, he's just so far from what almost everyone else who's ever conducted business considers the way you do these things, which is like you figure something out. then you announce it coherently in a single document.
Well, it's like what Ross Perot said. He said, GM's philosophy was the conventional philosophy is ready, aim, fire. GM's philosophy was ready, aim, 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 and Musk's philosophy is ready, fire, aim.
Well, Mark Cuban, in fact, said that as a compliment in his tweet. He said he's a ready, fire, aim guy who will mix things up.
Yeah.
So I want to.
Me and Mark Cuban. That's why we're both rich.
What's that?
Me and Mark Cuban think alike. That's why we're both rich.
It is. Yeah. It is.
Anyway,
so
go ahead.
I mean, I want to talk about his business. I do think.
What should he do? I guess is the question.
Oh, he's got ideas that I think could actually work. I mean, I think.
What should he do about the blue checks? Give them to everybody you pay, or just get rid of it? Why even?
Honestly, I think what he should do, if one of his business models is actually the long-term plan or part of it, I think he's got two dimensions of a long-term plan. One of them is to not just make Twitter a place where people buy things in the sense of like Twitter's got their credit card information so it can make sales and get some kind of piece of the action. He wants to make it a bank. I mean, if you listened to or read the transcript of this meeting he had with employees, he wants people to have like a balance at Twitter. And when they're in the black, they're getting interest via Twitter. And when they're in the red, they're paying interest. And he says both rates will magically be better than what you can get elsewhere in the marketplace. But, this is not crazy. I think part of the model is this, it's either WeChat or Weavers. It's one of the Chinese apps that is kind of a multi-app. You buy things, you schedule things and so on. But anyway, I was just going to say, if he wants to do that, I would assume that even so, the first step is to get people's credit card numbers. Okay. And if that's a long-term plan, I would say, look, to fight bots, we got to have a way to give preferential treatment to people we know are real or something, or people are willing to pay. But it's just $1 a month or something. In other words, maximize the number of people whose credit cards numbers you have, and then start slowly converting them into chronic purchasers.
I hadn't realized that the $5, if you don't pay the $5, you're going to be down there in the basement with the bots, and the algorithm's actually going to discriminate against you. So you sort of have to pay the $8. If you have to pay the $8, you sort of have to pay the $8. I guess the larger issue seems to me is he doesn't understand the paranoia of Twitter users who don't know the algorithm. For example, this is an algorithm point, but it gets to it. I was actually scared to post something on Twitter. The whole point of Elon Musk was I was not supposed to be scared to post something on Twitter, but he did this thing where he said, all parodies have to be labeled parody. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I was going to tweet, there's nothing that kills a parody more than labeling it a parody. Okay. But I thought, don't tweet that. He might see it. And who knows? He's so mercurial, he'll fuck you over. Okay.
No, I don't think
he sees even the little sparrow. He actually reaches down into Twitter, and he has punished enough people. But we don't know the algorithm. We don't know his power. He doesn't understand.
Did you just compare him to God? Was that a biblical reference?
Yes, Bob. He didn't. He doesn't understand that we Twitter users, even though he bought it and rid us of the horrible, toxic, woke millennials, we don't trust him either. We want a transparent algorithm that he doesn't fuck around with. And I have no faith that he doesn't fuck around with the algorithm, even if he does it in smaller ways, even if Twitter's a freer place, and put him in charge of a social credit system. My God, I don't trust him to run a social credit system. Okay. If he has a WeChat system where you're like, he can penalize you subtly in your bank account, your interest rate goes up a bit if he doesn't like you. I'm sorry, he's playing with fire. That's a disaster. It has to be totally transparent.
I don't see him going that far doing a social credit system.
David Sachs would agree with him, and I'm a little suspicious that David Sachs is going to pains to say, oh, I was just there for a few hours to help him out, does that mean he saw things going in a bad direction?
I don't know, but a number of people have resigned lately.
But they were the people who should resign.
Well, no, it's more complicated.
The guy who throttled the Biden laptop story resigned. Crimea River.
There were other resignations, but they're peripheral. Maybe we'll talk about in the Parrot room.
One of them he talked into staying.
Okay, well, we can talk about that. But just quickly, they're not saying that you'll need a blue check to benefit from the algorithm broadly. They're saying it will.
But we don't know.
Well, we know what they're saying. What they're saying is it'll help you in search and replies, which to me are not that vital. What I worry about is that it will help you in the algorithm. And look, if they will say that it does, shit, I'll pay for it. I mean, you know.
But you don't even know. But even if it gives you a boost in the algorithm, obviously it gives you some boost because the bots are the people he wants to kill, and they don't get whatever the blue checks get.
No, so, but the bots, replies and search could hurt the bots. The bots, start out with no genuine followers, and I think they use replies to. I don't know, but anyway.
Right. Okay, but look, the other thing is you don't know if he's giving an extra boost to the legacies. So the $8 people get some boost. And the legacies, for all we know, he's boosting them even more. Right. He's not transparent about it. He has to say they will get no boost or they are getting a boost.
First of all, I've always wanted Twitter to be clear on what is the algorithmic advantage of the blue checks. Knowledgeable people have said that the blue check is taken as, quote, a signal of quality in the algorithm, which matters. I just wish, Elon Musk would tell us, like, okay, what benefits did the old blue check get? Are there some it got that the new blue check doesn't get? And what benefits are the legacy blue checks going to get as long as they're legacy? Spell it out. But he's incapable of spelling anything out clearly because he refuses to say anything that takes more than 220 characters to say. And it's just like, it's just stream of consciousness policy making. It's unbelievable.
He gives longer talks to advertisers. But
yeah, when he's not threatening to go thermonuclear by naming and shaming them, another fucking genius business move.
On the whole, Twitter is better with him in charge than with the previous owners. But
I'd say the jury's out on that. But I don't agree with the people. Like David Frum did this whole thing about reasons Twitter's doomed. Well, you'll notice that the place David Frum did that is on Twitter. He doesn't have anywhere else to go. And that's the ace in Musk's hole. I said from the beginning, this was going to be a test of the strength of network effects. They're holding up. Mastodon's pretty complicated, and there are other problems. Even if it were simple, the migration would be challenging.
Right. Axios said Twitter is on life support. That's insane.
That's bullshit. I mean, I think he's going to wind up turning this into a big moneymaker. The question I want to entertain in the Parrot room is, will that be incompatible with it being the town square he claimed he wanted it to be, which I'm very skeptical of.
Okay.
There's another part of his business model I want to talk about. But anyway.
You still haven't answered the question of what should he do with the blue checks? But,
well, you know what I think? He should demolish legacy blue checks. It was a ridiculous thing to begin with. The Twitter's in the business of conferring high status on people that really matters and amplifies their voice. It's ridiculous. It's anti-egalitarian. And he claims to know that. He said the lords and peasants system is bad, but he keeps flirting with it. So he should totally get rid of that. If he wants to say there are specific advantages you pay for, I'm not wildly in favor of that because it's inegalitarian in a different way, but fine. Do it and spell out the actual advantages. Speak clearly. Hire somebody who knows how to communicate in English, Elon.
Overturning the meaning of the blue check pop, that's like overturning Roe versus Wade. It's too established. People
right, that would never happen.
The blue checks will revolt. Well, will the blue checks then revolt and leave? I don't think they have anywhere to go.
That's what I'm saying. It's going to be hard. Yeah. Network effects are strong, and that's what he's got going for him.
If they want to boast in their bio, I had a blue check, they should feel free to do that.
I mean, if David Frum's still there now, what would it take? what would get all these elites to leave Twitter if they're still hanging around now? It's not going to get more turbulent. It can't, can it? I don't think.
It is. It will be fun to watch them try to set up an alternative and migrate back to Twitter. It's the same way it was horrible for people in my shoes to think about how do we leave Twitter when it was run by the woke millennials, and try to figure out other ways. Will we start our Substacks? And those weren't real alternatives.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
Now wait, what else was I gonna? Oh, on my Tuesday podcast, I'm gonna have very noted tech writer Harry McCracken talking about his ongoing exploration of Mastodon. And so that's going to be a good explainer, I think. So stay tuned. That's this Tuesday.
I've written off Mastodon.
Well, I don't know enough to write it off. Hear that, Mickey?
That's happy music that you're playing to contrast with my somber classical music.
It's the 46-minute alarm.
Okay.
So,
we're trying to keep these shorter to give ourselves a sustainable lifestyle.
Should I say something about Ukraine, or should we save that for the Parrot room?
I think we should save it for the Parrot room because we'll need things to talk about at the Parrot room.
Okay. The only other, I want to talk more about Twitter's business model. I want to say in the Parrot room. I want to say a little more about the Metaverse. Facebook's got its own problems, but I want to say a little bit more about how it should be approaching the Metaverse. I want to talk a little about this Errol Morris documentary I watched about this girlfriend of Timothy Leary's called My Psychedelic Love Story, which was good.
He was a CIA agent, right?
No. He also did a thing on the CIA Errol Morris did a thing on the CIA program to secretly give people LSD without telling them, and then watch what happened.
They secretly planted this woman to keep track of Larry, I thought.
Well, that's never asserted. That's never asserted. Okay. But I'll research that. Want to talk more about Twitter. Want to talk about Ukraine. All of this at patreon.com/Parrot Room.
I want a little more. I want a little more talk about the election. Like, is the blame Trump theory, which is certainly the number one theory of why the Republicans did so badly, is that right, or are there other theories? I want to talk about the coming war on unmarried women. I don't see it. I want to talk a little bit about, is America getting nicer, perversely? And I wanted to go a little more into this, why I can't, lessons for how to talk to a liberal.
How to talk, that could be a book.
I think Ann Coulter's written it.
Could have been a book. Maybe a book.
I think her book is called How to Talk to a Liberal. But maybe I'm wrong.
Could be a good book.
Okay. Well, we got plenty to talk about. But
yeah, I know. I don't know why you're selling us short. This is going to be epic. By the way, you realize that for this whole conversation, you have that little hood has continued to obscure the top of your head. By the way, I dreamed I was bald the other night. I mean, not that I'm
obscuring the top of my head is a feature, not a bug.
Yeah, it's good. You should, it's a good look for you.
Thank you. The other thing is, I realized that the part of the All In podcast, that I like, is the intro music. It's fantastic.
Well, the whole thing is very professionally done, and we
so
should hire them. We should hire them to do ours. They'll probably work for cheap, right?
We should hire the person to write an intro, sort of a disco rhythmy thing for us, called "Wet My Beak." where you have the parrot go, every now and then the parrot would interject, wet my beak.
Wet my beak. I like that.
Okay.
And then could get raunchier and raunchier. I'm already thinking of things the parrot could say that go way beyond wet my beak, Mickey.
What else is he saying?
I can't say that now. I can only say it in the parrot room. That's what the parrot room is for. I want to say, if we have time,
are you working blue again?
What's the name of the guy on All In? Chamath or whatever? Is that his name?
Yeah. Yes.
Listen.
You're right. He's not that great.
I didn't say that. I will say this. He does not understand journalism.
That's what he was not so great. That's what he was not so great about. He was not very great about journalism.
He doesn't understand the problem. We'll talk about this in the parrot room, but
it's hardly worth talking about.
Well,
but we can do that.
I think everyone should be punished for saying things that don't make any sense. Everyone. In my universe, every time they said something that didn't make sense, they would an electric shock would be delivered.
Okay. And Elon Musk would have his finger on the button. Oh, wait, he already does.
Elon Musk would be receiving more than giving in my ideal world.
Well, he can shock himself.
Okay.
So the classical music is welling up in the background.
Wait, I'll tell you what it is. Let's just go out with a name that tune. Play it again. Background. Let's go with name that tune.
Hang on, I'm trying to get it to.
Okay. Meanwhile, I will hum Adagio for strings while you do it. No, I can't do it. Oh shit, we may get canceled. That's probably copyrighted. Stop that. We may get kicked off of YouTube. We're gonna have to ask them to cancel. Wait.
Sorry about that.
Well, I wonder if that'll happen in the beginning. We could be toast. We need to think about this.
Okay.
All right. We'll see.
Sorry about that.
We'll see what happens. Okay. See you in the parrot room.
Okay.